ladies and gentlemen, the planning board session for July 2nd of 18 is now, I'll entertain a motion that it be convened.
So moved.
Second?
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I understand that the law allows you to operate cell phones or stuff if you want to. Keep them quiet, please. Try not to use them, but people cannot be forbidden in public meetings, not to have them. First item on the agenda is the Rogers Memorial Library. Board member Leminski has a conflict of interest and will recuse himself from this discussion. And EnviroScience, former Richard Warren, I recognize, has risen to tell us about the library. Additional coffee shop. Richard, would you like the floor, sir?
Yes, please.
Proceed, please.
Good evening. My name is Richard Warren of InterScience, here on behalf of Rogers Memorial Library. I'm a former trustee and a former president of the board. The libraries, as you know, probably over time, used to be that you could never have any kind of food or beverage in the library. It's like verboten. You couldn't take any kind of nourishment in there. And as libraries have progressed, there seems to be a loosening of that. People want to have an opportunity to have a cup of coffee or a bottle of water or a small snack. And you see that in lots of other libraries. So Rogers Memorial Library, the board has decided that it would be appropriate for them to try to see if they could do a relatively small addition to the existing library. It's 426 square feet. It will be located right at the main entrance to the library, although the only reason for that is to try to control the movement of people in and out of that. I'll show you on an aerial photograph here. This is a library property. It's a little over 3 acres in size. I guess I have to keep this with me.
You don't need that. You've got a microphone on the table.
Oh, great. And the addition to the library would be right in this corner right here. The main entrance to the library, as you know, there's Windmill Lane, Cooper's Farm Lane, and you come in through here, and there's parking along through here, parking through here to get into Cooper Hall, and then this parking back here, which is mostly staff parking. But the main entrance to the library is right through here, which is underneath a covered porch. And the idea would be to put it right through here, and the entrance would be, if you've been to the library, there's a series of double doors to allow for for temperature control. You'd go in the first set of doors, then off the left there'd be another small door. This is the floor plan. It's prepared by Lemansky and his company. And so here are the double doors right here. This is the entry coming down. The parking lot is out here. You come down, there's a small room right through here. You come in through the first set of doors. There's a door where it takes in through here. The intention is there's going to be a counter. There'll be a coffee machine, like a Keurig or something like that, with a small refrigerator, and they would have snacks, prepackaged snacks. Somebody could get a muffin, somebody could get a granola bar, or something like that. The intention was that they did not want this to compete with local businesses here in the community. They didn't want to have someone making sandwiches. They're not selling sandwiches or anything like that, but it's just something so that someone could get a small snack while they're there at the library, and where they could take a break. Around the outside of this building, they would build a small patio that would be underneath the pergola. So if it's a nice day, someone could sit out there and get a little bit of sun while they're taking a break from what they're doing. We think it is small. We think it is a nice addition to the library, and it is a nice addition for the patrons of the library. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. We did circulate, we had about 28 people we had to notify, and we actually provided a kind of a detailed letter about what this is about, so this way they would understand what this is and not worry when there's a sign up for the library, there's an addition, what is it going to be? So we actually provided all the information about it, which we provided to Kathy, so this way she would know as well. So I'm here to answer your questions you might have, and listen in public, if there is any.
Board members have questions for him at this point? Anyone in here, as a matter of public record, wish to speak on this matter? Bill?
I'm Bill Hattrick, and I live in the Cooper's Farm Apartments adjacent to the proposed addition to the library building. And one of our residents has asked me, as president of our association, to read this letter into your record. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife and I live at 97 Coopers Farm Road, Unit Number 1. Our backyard is contiguous to the library property, and as a result, we are the ones most affected by any building project undertaken by the library. We are fully opposed to having any kind of food service facility here. Insects, rodents, and the like will be here and certainly will come onto our property, to say nothing of deer. Also, the increased number of garbage trucks. Further, I know of no library which offers such a food service. And he mentions the New York Public Library and some library in Paris whose name I cannot pronounce, but it sounds very grand, and to name but a few. We are certainly not litigious people, but I suspect that the people who own the houses in our little development would be quite opposed to any such project. I hope you understand our position. Sincerely, Robin and Alexander Gaudieri.
Thank you, Bill.
I think it's fair to add, too, that I spoke to the other people in that particular unit, and they were fine with your proposal.
Okay, and that letter, I believe, well, we get a copy of that to go into the record.
Like the letter, the
Has
original?
that been submitted to the file as yet?
No.
Why don't you give it to Antoinette, and she'll stamp it in. And that goes into
Yeah.
the file then, Antoinette.
We at least add it in for the record. Okay.
Thank you.
Richard?
See if there's anybody else.
Is there anyone else that would you like? Richard's facts obviously were a little different on use, and I'm assuming that, people can change their mind, including the library, what they do, but given the facts that you've put forward on behalf of the board as to its use, that many of those issues are not at stake in the purported use of this small addition, including the admission of rodents to the library.
The library is trying to simply accommodate, the patrons of the library. This is not going to be someplace where food is going to be prepared. You could just as easily bring your granola bars, your muffins in your pocketbook or your backpack or something. But people wind up at the library and they spend some time there and they need to take a little bit of a break. So they'll be able to go out. They haven't quite figured out if it's going to be vending machines or not. It's probably going to be like when you go into a hotel, there's a vending machine, you put a couple of dollars in or quarters and something pops out the bottom. Or it may be an honor system. They haven't figured that out yet, but they know that this is going to be something that is going to be low-key, but it gives somebody a little bit of a break at the library. So I don't believe that any of those issues, whether it's deer or rodents or garbage, are going to be any kind of issue here, with what's being proposed.
It doesn't sound to me like it is, but does the library potentially view this as a source of income?
No, they do not view this as a source of income. Their intention is to interview a local vendor of some sort to come and operate this. But the library personnel, they're busy with the things that they have to do, and they don't intend to have one of their own staff take care
I
of it.
just don't know, but once the cafeteria's been built, and then people say, well, gee, it would be great to get a hamburger or something, where would you have to go to get approval to then increase the capacity of the...
We would be back here because we'd be changing the use from what we were asking you for. What we're asking for is a snack area. We're not asking for a place that can manufacture food, and that's clear by the floor plans that have been provided. We'd have to go to the health department to change the sanitary for that as well. There's no intention of doing that. They were very clear when they went ahead with this that they did not want to compete with local businesses that are providing sandwiches and hamburgers and those kind of things. That's not going to happen here. This is a little bit of a break.
The application, Roy, maybe it needs to be worded more strongly. I'll leave that up there to it. It says it will include vending machines for dispensing beverages, vending, and dispensing prepackaged or prepared snacks or foodstuffs, period. So that's fairly definitive. Now, if we need to make it stronger, we can deal with that issue just as a matter of wording.
In what direction would you like it stronger?
I don't know if people are worried about its migration, and as Roy mentioned, people change their mind into something more. Say,
Well, as long as
it won't be
not-
changed
that-
without approval from the village or something like that. Caveat.
That precludes preparation of food on the site.
Well, it's implied. The sentence says it's all prepackaged or prepared in advance. I mean, it's good. The stylesmith can probably strengthen it or just to make sure it's said as disclosed. It's accurate, it's just what Richard said, but if it's the right thing to strengthen it for the community, it's because it is what it is. It's probably a few words.
All right.
And whatever which I believe we would approve this application for construction because it is the library. So that's all. Only thing I can think of. This is fine with me, but if somebody's worried,
Well, that's what you can vote on now. If you'd
Yeah.
like it changed, then we'll have to change it.
okay.
You can vote on that now.
This is not very complicated.
Correct.
Okay. Any
fairly limited.
other comments or suggestions? Okay. Then if we can proceed to approve this
So
application.
you need a resolution to approve the application.
We'll entertain a resolution from the board. Okay, would someone move that we,
You entertain a motion. You'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution, Alan.
would you want to propose it?
I would make a motion to approve the resolution for the Southampton
Application.
Public Library to develop a cafeteria as per the specifications of
Boy,
the...
it's not a cafeteria. It's just it's a snack venue.
It is a snack bar.
Snack.
I don't have a copy of this, so I can't tell what it is.
There's the copy.
So make a resolution to approve the Southampton Library's application for a snack bar at their site for prepared food.
And I will second it. And are you in favor of
I'm
that?
in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
We're in favor.
Chairman, aye.
We can invite Steve back into the meeting.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Do we have to close the public meeting?
Yes. You just,
Okay.
motion to close the public hearing.
I'll entertain a motion that the board
Make a motion to
close
close the public hearing for the Southampton
On the
Public
application.
Library application.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The meeting is closed for public comment. He's in the hall.
Steve?
Is he coming?
He's out in the back room. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the 477 Little Plains, Cal's Associates, which is a lot that was approved, as we were advised, several years ago. I believe before the change in zoning said that what was approved several years ago, it may be changed, but there was a prior approval which we've been asked to validate. Would anyone like to comment on this request in front of us?
Yes, thank you. My name is John.
Excuse me, John, this is the first public hearing, Kathy?
Yes.
So you have to announce that this is a public hearing and then open the public hearing?
Excuse me. And this is the first public hearing on this reapplication for approval of a prior grant of a subdivision of this lot on the northwest corner of Little Plains and Gin Lane in the village of Southampton. So this is a public hearing. I guess we need a
Public
motion.
hearing is now open.
Motion to open the public hearing. If we need a motion, we'll have that, but this is the public
No, you
hearing.
don't. It just goes right.
John Bennett.
Good evening. My name is John Bennett, Bennett Reed, 212 Windmill Lane, for the applicant. This is, the property is located on the northwest corner, the intersection of Gin and Little Plains. It was historically two lots, I hope you can see this, and was purchased by Coles Associates, or the predecessor Coles Associates, which was Mrs. Coles, excuse me, as two lots. They were, as sometimes happens on the East End, people not being aware of merger provisions of the local codes. they were held in the same ownership, and then when the village rezoned the area from R80 to R120, they merged. So we went back to the Zoning Board of Appeals in 2013. I represented the applicant. We were able to demonstrate that between the block formed by South Main, Foster Crossing, Little Plains, and Gin Lane, there was not one lot that conformed to the R120 zone, because it was probably should have been left R80, but the trustees changed to R120. But we were able to demonstrate that between that block, which is about 60 lots, not one of them conformed. None of them were. These are actually at 80,000 square feet. Two of them were some of the bigger lots. So the Zoning Board of Appeals did properly, back in 2013, allow the lots to be unmerged. I think it would have been an abuse of discretion for them not to, because we were able to demonstrate that we were simply trying to conform with the character of the area, which we do, that the lots had been separately taxed, et cetera, all the indicia that goes into an appropriate grant of that sort of relief. So that was back in 2013. And then, just to make sure, although I was confident that this was the law in the village of Southampton, just to make sure that that everyone was on the same page, I did go, and I think this is in the file, but if it's not, I have extra copies of it. It's a letter from Jonathan Foster. Well, it's a countersigned letter from me to Jonathan Foster, in which the purpose of the letter to ask you to confirm the longstanding policy of the village of Southampton that absent any condition which limits the life of the variance, and there was no limit on the 2013 variance, this variance, as with all variances, runs with the land. Therefore, please confirm that since it is the intent of the owner to complete the subdivision process, and again, reapply, there's no need for the Village Zoning Board of Appeals to further review or grant any relief on the property in order to allow the subdivision. That was countersigned by Mr. Foster. But again, that's the understanding of the law that I've always had, not only in the village, but in the town. And it's the law in the state of New York that absent a durational limit on a variance, of which there was none in this, the variance runs with the land. So, and that was sort of the real defining moment in this application, because once the board granted the relief to unmerge the lots, the dimensional relief to unmerge the lots, and by the way, that was unchallenged, and you're probably, the statute of limitations against the Zoning Board of Appeals, if anyone had a problem with that, was 30 days from December 19th, 2013, which would have been somewhere towards the end of January, I guess January 20th, 21st of 2014, which is a long time ago. So that's so in effect, the zoning of the property is now effectively these two lots, this is R80. So the applicant did go on to then get an approval, a conditional final approval from this board, which lapsed. And we're here simply to ask the board to reapprove it. There's really no need for...
What did this board do?
The board granted, after we went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, this board granted conditional final approval to subdivide the
Okay, that was done.
And
That was done then.
That was done, so I'm just asking that it be approved.
When was it done? The record might
That
show
was about
when
3 or
this
4
board
years ago.
acted.
3 or 4 years ago. I have it. I have it in the application somewhere.
September 2nd, 2014.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you.
12/2/14, thank you.
So that
you,
lapsed
Catherine.
for certain reasons.
I'm glad you have it.
And interestingly enough, because these are lots that are shown on the 1981 tax map as separate lots, there'll be no need for health department approval for the subdivision, so we'll just file it as a miscellaneous map. Because since this was a separate lot in 1981, the Bureau of Wastewater Management of the Board of Health would simply, assuming we comply with the regulations, which we will be easily able to do, will issue a permit for the construction of a single-family residence on this lot. So there's no need for health department approval for the subdivision. These lots are, from a subdivision point of view, these lots are grandfathered by reason of appearing on the 1981 tax map. And even if they weren't, they'd more than handily comply. The health department density requirement in this area is 40,000 square feet, and these are one lot's 178,000. Well, they're both 178,000 square feet. So,
Two 178,000 square feet lots?
there are two. I'm sorry. No, maybe. No.
They're both in excess of
They're
120?
both in. They're both. No. I'm sorry. I'm wrong about that.
That doesn't seem,
No. They're two. The one's 87,000. The other's 91,000. Sorry. Excuse me. Thank you for correcting me. That didn't make any sense at all. Sorry about
Yep.
that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
one is 87,000 square feet, about twice the density requirement for health department subdivision approval, even if it was required, which it's not, and the other is 91,000 square feet. But again, the real defining decision was the Zoning Board of Appeals 2013 grant of all relief that was necessary to unmerge these lots. So I would simply ask that you reapprove your prior approval, which has lapsed.
okay. Well, is this chain of events something that typically comes back for reapproval, or it seems to me
No, it's quite unusual.
it's valid, and I'm interested, this is an abundance of caution in front of us? It seems to me
No,
it's
because the lots are,
not moot.
Well, the subdivision approval only lasts for a year, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So since the map hadn't been filed, we had to go back. The family didn't want to
So it's failure. It's failure.
getting a permit for that.
So we're approving failure to file something that was earlier granted. So I just want to get the
Yes.
situation correct, okay? I wasn't on the board then.
I think the family
Most
felt
people were.
comfortable at that period and didn't want to, despite my
They didn't want to file it.
counsel, didn't want to file it, but,
Okay.
so we're back. No, they finally listened to my
I would like to
counsel.
review the history of it now that the public hearing is open and report to you on that.
That's John's letter, John Foster.
Yeah, because it seems,
So I'd ask you to keep the
it
public
seems to me
hearing
it's
open.
probably moot, but if people fail to file or something, you get hoisted by your petard, as they say. So I guess we ought to look at,
Well, we need to review the procedure, but you have some
all right, now,
commentary in the public.
okay. Anyone in the public like to speak to this, about this matter? Thank you.
Hi, how are you? Hello. My name's Chris Shumway. I live at 104 Gin Lane, which is right across the street from 477 Little Plains. So I was not aware of the subdivision, and we didn't receive notice for the prior discussion, but I did see this posted because we happened to be, I drove by it and saw this posting for today. I did call council to have them represent me for this, just to find out what the options are. The council that I normally use doesn't do any opposition work, and he said he couldn't come to this meeting. But my own view, having lived at 104 Gin Lane for over 10 years and having been out here since 1989, is that the congestion on Gin Lane has really picked up substantially. I think what's happening is it's now become the other cut through. If you're coming from town to go east, it's the way to go. You can cut around and go through Watermill, and you're seeing more and more traffic. I just think that it's a mistake to encourage further development. I'm bit of a fish out of water. I'm not an attorney to talk about the specifics of this issue, but I would say, given that we didn't know about it back then and would have objected, I think given it's still open, what I would ask this group to do is to give us representation to talk about the issues that are related to this, and not make a decision on this today, but rather let us present our case of why this isn't good. But in a nutshell, not the legal case, the citizen case is look, when you come out our driveway, it's already pretty crazy. So these two lots, and it's hard to see because you can't see where our property is. Right now, you come off of Little Plains, which has...
You're to the property to the south toward the beach?
Yeah, we're the beach side. So we're just directly south towards the beach, or south.
You go to the corner in, or you go to the parking lot?
So there's one more property that goes to Little Plains, so we're the next house.
Thank you.
On the beach side.
Right.
And what I would say is already just getting in and out of our driveway with bicyclists, runners, cars, for whatever reason, are flying down Gin Lane now, it's just become a dangerous spot. I've got 3 little kids. They ride their bike around. My basic view, and I don't know the legal side of it, is that adding more cuts, driveway cuts into Gin Lane right there is just going to make it more dangerous than it is already. And so I would rather see the cuts come out of Little Plains, which is where that house has been, and that's my primary concern. I also just think for this group in general, it's, when I can, look, we can all talk about when we were young, but it's gotten a lot more crowded out here, and the notion of trying to create smaller lots is a bad idea, in my opinion, as a separate matter. I think there's one way out. It's 27. 27 has gotten crazy now, and it is what it is, so people are trying to seek alternatives. One of those happens to be Gin Lane. It's a poor alternative, but given how bad 27 gets, it is an alternative. And, so that's the deal.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Can I respond? Only if there's no one else to speak.
Anyone else wish to comment? Counsel, would you like to say something?
Mr. Shumway owned his properties in 2013 and had the full opportunity to object to the variances that were granted, which are really the end game on this once you unmerge those lots, and did not object to the grant of the variances, and which run with the land, and they're beyond attack. I will also tell you that Mr. Shumway was granted a substantial number of variances to further subdivide his property about 4 years ago. Created some very strange gerrymandered lots, but the Zoning Board of Appeals and the board was happy to grant those variances, which, by the way, results in 2 curb cuts along Gin Lane.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that? Those statements? Let me just say 2 things.
You need to come, sir, you need to come up and address the podium.
Come up, yes.
One is our lots are much larger, so the density was not increased. And 2 is we already have 2 curb cuts. We've not changed them. They've been that way for 100 years, so we're not adding to any density related to it. The other point I would make is that we weren't given notice that I'm aware of in any way for us to come at that time. And so that's why we didn't show up, or we would have, and that's where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, board, we have I guess...
Make a motion to... Does the board have any comments?
Anybody have any comments or questions for council on this?
I just want to say I don't think any of us are happy about the traffic. I don't think any of us are happy that people are using the back roads are now the estate section, but I don't think that we have control over that. I don't think that the trade parade is going to obey, please use County Road 39. I just feel like it's beyond our control at this point.
Pam, any views? Roy?
And I'd just like to hear what Bo's got to say. Nothing, and then I would ask you to review the proposal from back in 2013 and review the planning board procedure files, and then we just ask you to keep the public meeting open for all purposes.
For all purposes to our next meeting. Okay.
So just make a motion to adjourn for all purposes. The Powell Associate 477 Little Plains Road until the July 30th work session, August 6th public meeting.
Second?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, would you maybe give us a view of the lot situation there? This is quite an intersection.
Sure.
Public access to the beach, it's an intersection that we should, those of us who haven't been there recently, I've been there about 3 days. Should get
Okay,
familiar
for the
with
work- for the work
exactly
session.
what's there. I remember what was there a long time ago, but not lately.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, the next matter is number East End Holdings of 3842 Jones Lane. I'll entertain the motion that we have a hearing on this, please, to continue a hearing on it.
Is this continuation, Kathy, or?
We'll continue.
No, this is the public hearing.
Yeah.
Public hearing.
It's just opening.
Send us some more data.
I have the affidavits of posting for the both properties as well as the affidavit of publication.
Thank you. Okay. We've gotten Maresca, so matters that you sent to us, right, with the letter? Okay, can you bring us up to speed? This was something to do with depth of drainage and water and
Yes.
so forth, as I remember.
So just to bring the board up, there were a couple of outstanding engineering comments, and one of them has been resolved. The applicant submitted a letter from their engineer that said that the groundwater elevation was taken under stabilized conditions, and the village engineer has signed off on that.
Okay. So
So
that was
that's the update.
the major matter last time.
Yeah,
we
those
met
are the,
and we
yeah,
reported on it.
the other has to do with an access issue, which they are still working on. Accessibility.
Okay, and, all right, before we deliver, any comments on this, the access issue or the status here from anyone who's interested in this matter?
I'm Kirk Lehman, the architect for the project. We are reviewing it with the Department of State, the number of entrances, and seeing if it's acceptable as is.
Okay, so that's
we're reviewing that
that's
at
the
this time.
access issue, because this,
Correct.
as I understand it, these are two properties, there's space in the middle, and it goes all the way back to the
Currently.
parking lot. Not all the properties along the way go all the way back, so this is big, both wide and deep.
Correct.
Okay.
That is not the issue, though. The
No,
accessibility has to do with the building
With that
itself.
factor, you've got matters that have to be appropriate.
Correct.
Okay.
How many existing storefronts are there?
I believe there's 5 or 6 storefronts in
They were
3
replaced
separate
by
buildings.
3.
Excuse me?
They'll be replaced by 3.
3, correct. In addition, we're combining from 3 lots into 2 lots of regular shape and size. We're providing 6 additional parking spaces. We're providing the innovative system as recommended by this board for the sanitary, providing all drainage for runoff, catchment, permeable pavers, so it's quite an improvement from what's there.
And the issue was solved with the extra 3 feet of front to deal with the 65 versus 63, the
Yeah.
frontage. I think that's been solved.
That's been solved as well.
Is the access a matter of state law or local law?
State law, or perhaps federal law. Or federal.
Federal.
The ADA.
The ADA.
It's the amount of entrances and where they're counted. So we're just getting a review on that.
Okay. Any other comment from the public or people attending about this application for the renovation of these properties, combining them into 2 lots and the creation of retail space?
We have the letter from,
Okay, we have received a letter from a neighbor who called me up to advise me that due to personal issues, they're just catching up to this matter now. Would Ann Madonia Antiques, I guess, would you like to say anything at this time or wait to make a...
You need to come up to the...
Come on up, please. Would you please come to... Susan, if you come up and tell us.
Can I just read my letter? Can you read out my letter that I wrote?
Well, it's been filed, which we have. We've seen that.
Could you give the board your name and address?
Sure. It's Susan Madonia from Ann Madonia Antiques. And I got a notice about a modified line in the mail about a week or so ago, and I went to see Gil Flanagan because the letter came from him. So I went to his office and I looked at the plans, and for me, they're quite extensive, and I can't comment. I hope that I would like an extension to look at the plans to review them.
And you're the neighbor to the north?
Yes.
Up the
Yes,
street.
Amadonia Antiques. I've been in town since 1986 with my business. I've been in that location since 1990. I bought the building from Caldwell Alexander. I have a garden in the back, which is a very private, intimate space. It's like a home to me. I'm there pretty much every day. I know that my neighbor needs to change and upgrade, so I was trusting the board that it would be beautiful. But at this point, it seems like there's a lot going on, and I would like to have my space and to review. It's just overwhelming for me. I didn't realize the extent, and I need more time to review it. I didn't even look at the plans. I haven't had a moment. So Gil showed them to me, and I'd just like to understand them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gil, Mary Jane Assato,
Yes, Mary Jane,
Burke, Flanagan,
yeah.
Assato,
Mary Jane,
21 South Main Street for the applicant.
Thank you for being
When Gil briefed me on this, I know that Gil had spoken to Ms. Madonia, and I believe that there was concern that she wanted to maintain her private space and her garden in the back. And I can say on the record that the owner is prepared to put in a row of evergreens from the back of where her building ends all the way to the back of our property. Basically, it would be suitable screening along the property line behind the rear of the building. Some of it would have to go on her property. We would pay for it because there's no space otherwise. But it would be a single row of evergreens along that area, about 5 feet high on planting and about 5 feet on center. So I'm not saying that certainly Ms. Madonia should review the plans more in length, but I believe that during the conversation that she had with Gil, it was for her to maintain her privacy from the back of her building toward where the parking lot was, and to do that, this is what we had proposed, is to plant evergreens at this applicant's cost and expense to provide her that privacy screening.
All right, any members have any comments? We we like to do everything at once. Weeks ago, everybody all the time, but it seems to me this is one building goes only part of the way back and the other goes all the way, which is why I mentioned that before. So it's an issue of, I guess to say, development in that area. It'd be awfully nice to have people happier rather than sadder. So what do you,
it is a big job. I think we just adjourn it, keep it open, and adjourn it for all purposes to give them an opportunity to take a look at it and come back.
we're still waiting for a little bit to get the other approval, so it won't kill the application to take a little longer. What do you think?
I would just, as far as SECRA goes, this is a type 1 action under Environmental Quality Review Act, and we had done a coordinated review letter to the involved agencies back in February. And we received no responses, which means that the planning board can take on the lead agency role. And in addition, we've reviewed the Part 1 EAF, we've prepared a Part 2 EAF, and there are no significant adverse impacts from this application, and in particular, wastewater is the one that comes up a lot, especially in this location, and because they're putting in the IA system, there may be a benefit as far as the groundwater quality. So we are recommending that the board adopt a neg deck, and that needs to occur if the board is going to do that before a public hearing is closed, whether you do it or not tonight. If you do adopt a neg deck tonight, this will help them move along with the health department. So, and I don't see any reason why you should delay this. So, just for your consideration.
I understand that the board wants to keep the hearing open for all purposes, so Ms. Madonia can fully review the application, that's fine. But if you would adopt a negative declaration, it would really allow us to proceed at different avenues. I mean, with help.
So, and first we have to make a motion to make ourselves lead agency?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'll make a motion to make the Southampton Village Planning Board lead agency in East End Holdings, and also to vote a negative declaration for the SECRA.
Okay,
Second?
been seconded?
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we will,
And make a motion to adjourn for all purposes the East End Holdings
Yeah.
Public
LLC.
hearing.
The public
Public
hearing,
hearing.
East End Holdings LLC.
Second?
okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. And then we'll deal with the other matters waiting
I'll
for
have
the...
you sign this before you leave.
Okay, on next matter, 1,000, the Chevelle has been adjourned for a month, over a month. I guess we're still waiting for that. That's taking a while. Okay. The next matter on subdivision is 550 and 554 Hill Street. Again, okay. We have, we have been asked to approve, I guess.
Well, you are at a stage where you are ready for your decision
To
on
vote,
sketch
no.
plan approval for a vote.
Approve, I'm just looking at that. I got a file that's so thick on this matter. All right. We've been asked, as I understand it, to approve.
It's not that you're being asked, your schedule now
To vote-
is such
to
that
vote
you
on approval.
now come to a vote on sketch plan approval.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to
I don't have one.
vote on the sketch plan approval of the 550, 554 Hill Street with...
Approved sketch plan approval.
To approve the sketch plan approval.
There's not one of these up here. So this
have that
is
one.
it.
So this is the same one that was sent around.
Yeah, it should be in your file.
I took the date off, so you can insert today's date on the last page.
Okay, because I didn't see that in the planning, in the pile here, but all right.
I'll second the motion to vote.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to do it individually, right? You have to do the vote individually, yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Larry, would anyone like to comment at this time on this vote or the issues that are involved, other than me? Okay?
I'm okay.
Anyone like to make a comment? Okay. I would like to comment that my concern with this has been tabled before. I wish to table it again. I do not think that this is something that should proceed at this point without approval from the fully complete approval from the review board, because it was merely done by a letter early in the procedure. Until that comes to us, I don't think we should put this forward. It is my distinct recollection, without having the videotapes to review at this point, but looking at the minutes, that when we sent this to the Zoning Board of Appeals for their approval, we did not at that time approve a number of things. We waited for it to come back to us. I think that the characterization of what we approved before has been changed. And as to whether it's major or minor, I understand that's a division, but I believe we've had representations to us that this still is a division of this property zoned in the 120 and 180 lot that is quite substantial. And I would like to delay myself. I'm just going to tell you in advance so you guys can vote next. I would like to delay this for further review. Both, maybe it's routine, but I think we have a burden of proof which is substantial because of the involvement of all the parties with other involvement in the village in this process. So we have to meet the highest standard in this matter. And I don't think it myself, I'm telling you in advance, it has yet been met. And we can. It's not that I'm against it. I think we have to do it and not move this by small steps that aren't fully coordinated. I just want to make that speech, and I think we have to do it. I also have a strong view that to have one of the rare times in the village, private easements governing access to this land is an exception. a major exception to the normal procedures followed. I'm looking for examples from anybody who gives it to me. All other subdivisions of internal properties in the village historically. And I don't think this is the time to do it differently. I think we need to have, other than private party easements for access to the properties. Partly it's the burden of proof because of the situation, and partly I think it's bad practice for the village to start to do it differently, certainly at this time. And those are my views, and I really feel we need to be careful. I've come into this process not even halfway through it, so I'm a rookie for some of the discussions that took place for several years on this thing. Steve, you've been in from day one. I'm sure some of you have been from the very beginning, 3 or 4 years. I've been barely 2 years, so I'm just a rookie to it. But it needs to make maximum sense given all the parties that are involved in this area. I also think a huge part of the area has not been fully appreciated in this change at the margin of it. There's been almost no reference to very much larger, by accident planning over the development of this village, substantially larger lots that lie to the east and south. And so this is a buffer zone. It's difficult. I know it's difficult, but there's insufficient attention has been paid to this matter. That's my speech. Okay, we call for a vote on the motion. Okay.
I made the motion. I don't know who seconded. I think Roy seconded.
Roy seconded. Okay. Who would like to speak?
I can start. I vote aye.
Okay, you vote aye? Okay.
I vote aye.
Vote aye.
Nay.
Nay?
I vote aye.
I vote nay. There's a copy. I guess is with the new chairman, I don't see the
Yeah, there'll be something for you to sign.
there's no copy here.
There's nothing. There's nothing in the file.
Nothing on the file. No.
Nothing in the file. We have.
The original
There's
is
the original
there.
file
It's
there.
not in the file, though.
We don't have, I have a copy.
Here's another copy, but I put the original, I had to bring another original because I had to take the date off because it was from
Okay.
it was last month that we prepared it.
But they didn't put anything in here
Okay,
because they cleaned the file.
okay.
This is what?
This is it.
Do you see the one that says original on it?
It doesn't say original, but it doesn't say
No,
copy.
I handed up first.
It said copy on it, I think.
No, the first one I handed you said original.
Let me see.
There's a copy. It says copy.
That's a different one.
I
The one
don't
that
see
was
one.
paper clipped?
Okay. Okay, there's an original. All right. Dated, what's the date, the 2nd?
I gave him my copy, so this one is it. So it's identical to this. This one has the date, June 4th.
And
So
Jane, you're right.
Jane, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Goes to
Goes to Pam, right? Goes to Pam. Okay. This one is pending decision.
Okay, the next item is Fowler Street for written.
I don't think we had any further conditions or issues, Kathy.
This was the parking
This
issue.
was just on for decision?
Yeah, I don't have it for you, Bruce. How about the work session at the latter part of the month? So adjourn that for all purposes to the work session?
Make a motion to adjourn for all purposes the 83 Fowler Street until the July 30th work session, 5 p.m.
Second.
Thank you.
Wait a second.
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question? Are you allowed to vote on it at the work session?
Yes. Yeah, we'll have it ready for the vote.
Good evening.
The next matter is Beechwood Latch, which is, I believe, adjourned. And we have Stanford Place, John Danielson, adjourned till September. And then we have North Sea Road, which looks like they want to adjourn that too.
Need a motion to approve the applicant's request to adjourn the matter until July 30th work session.
So moved.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Aye.
Okay. That's approved to adjourn it. Okay, now we have a question of access at the south end of the school district, which, Bo, is this a matter that is coming to us gratuitously, or we have to approve it for
It
some
is a
reason?
gratuitous application. You are asked for your input. I think we have a presentation for you this evening as to what is going on
Well,
here.
that's all fine, but just a question. Why do they want to approve it? To cheer or to just to bless it? Or I'm interested in the
Just
jurisdiction.
asking for your input, your deliberation and your input, whatever, however that may
I want to know
transpire.
what the hooks were, so why, other than pleasantness.
Good evening. My name is Emmett Urban. I'm the Facilities Director for the school district. And thank you for allowing us to present this evening. A little bit of short notice, but I hope I can do my best to explain what we're trying to do here. The Southampton Elementary School, our buses all egress, most of our buses egress onto Pine Street from the rear of the building, which is a one-way street, and go up to Hampton Road to either make a left or a right. And what we notice, particularly in the summertime when it's very crowded and congested on Hampton Road, is that it's physically impossible for the buses to gain access to Hampton Road, whether or not we use a traffic control person by holding back the light and moving buses. There's just no room to move. And so the children in the summer program are left on buses for quite an inordinate amount of time at one intersection. This came to our attention in an urgent way. Last year we had a student who has a condition for where they need to wear a vest to keep cool, and our school buses are not air conditioned. So we're trying to look at ways where we could both ease the traffic issue at Pine Street and Hampton Road and improve the speed at which we can deliver our students home. We found there was a right-of-way that existed at the rear of the schools. If I may, I'll point. The rear of the school's parking lot. This is the school's parking lot, which ends in a cul-de-sac here. There's a right-of-way that exists through what is the town's parking lot and a driveway that exits onto Little Plains Road. So we were proposing to open up that right-of-way, reconfigure the cul-de-sac in this fashion to be able to use that driveway to exit some buses onto Little Plains Road. We have between 9 buses or so, depends on populations and what have you, but currently and historically for the past few years we've had about 9 buses filling up in the rear of the building and then needing to exit onto Pine Street. This would give us a second egress onto Little Plains, particularly for buses which don't have to then get back up to Hampton Road. So we thought it would be a win-win for the village. The town has been helpful in allowing us to do this, and we wanted to present it to the village to get input and just to make sure that everyone agreed this was a good idea.
You have an idea for school use, sort of what's the ratio? Is it 50-50? Is it just a few to go south? Or
our intention is just for buses and just egress only. This is not going to be an inlet to the parking lot.
When they leave, to go north as opposed to south? Is there a 50-50? Is it just a few to go south?
It's hard to say because the bus routes change every year based on where the populations and the buses are, the students on the buses are aligned. But best guess would say 50-50, yes.
It's that much.
Would you still send some out on Pine?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then have you looked into seeing whether or not they can reverse the decision to make that southern part of Pine one way? So you could go south and north out of Pine and south and north out of Little Plains?
We did look into that. It seems the constraint there is a tree that is still alive and is the pinch point for that road at that point.
Go south.
To go south, yes. So the road narrows dramatically going south. It's on I believe, a residential property.
It's on the east side of the road. It's an elm tree, isn't it? Or
I believe it's the west side of the road.
Near Meeting House Lane?
Yeah, it's got a plaque on it. It's probably just north of Meeting House Lane, the one I'm looking at. Yep.
Yeah, on the west side. That might be in the village right away, but I don't think you'll ever get it.
Right. I think it's an elm, as you say. Yeah, it's a very mature. Yeah.
Sir, you mentioned that this came up during the summer program, but you would continue to use that egress during the full school year, correct?
We would have the ability to do that, but we don't have a problem in terms of getting our buses onto Hampton Road during the school year. And in fact, we have a crossing guard at that intersection, so it would be the preferred means when we don't otherwise have that congestion.
So this would just be for the summer months?
It's not, but it is. It's primarily to ease the congestion in the summer months. Yeah, we would not like to limit it, but it really is developed because Hampton Road is such a difficult place to traverse in the summer. Now, could we use it in May when we still have classes, or June? We'd like to. It depends. Traffic patterns, as everyone knows, are developing. But it certainly gets a good bit of traffic right off that main crunch. And in fact, what we've witnessed is that even on Little Plains, where it meets Hampton Road, it tends to ease at just east of that intersection.
East at Little Plains, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
On Hampton Road.
A lot of the pedestrian traffic has settled down by then, yeah.
There'll be somebody out on Little Plains to get the buses out?
There wouldn't be. We did have a study done on that driveway and the road, and it was deemed that it was adequately sized for even large buses to go out onto Little Plains. There's no parking on the east side of Little Plains currently.
It's a major.
So can you explain what is the source of the buses? Where are they going to load? On school property?
That's correct.
The south end of school property.
They've always loaded on school property.
They'll have to come in from Meeting House Lane and make a right turn onto the school property, because you can't go south on Pine Street south of that parking lot that goes into the village parking.
The majority of them actually come in from Hampton Road and go into our bus circle, and then make a right going south alongside of the school, and then line up all behind the school. A school bus has the doors on the right-hand side, so the right-hand side always faces the school. So they line up in that direction. They never go the other way.
So they go.
But now they're facing south.
They go into the village parking area.
They go into the school district's parking area. Yeah, thank you. So here's Hampton Road, and this is going east. This is Town Hall, and this is the elementary school. So here's our bus circle. We would come in off of Hampton Road, and we typically load in the bus circle. Then not all of our buses fit in that bus circle, so they make a right down our driveway. A few actually stay here, but we continue during the school year and load up all along here as well.
In the back of the school.
Right. Now, we never back up a school bus, so we can't go backwards or do anything like that. So we have to, anything that has made this turn past the bus circle must continue. Correct. Must continue.
So you can bypass the village road system to get them lined up headed north on Pine Street.
That's how we do it currently, yes. So anything that goes into turns from the circle would not go backward. It would have to go south here and jog toward Pine Street and up the one way.
So what you do is come down the way they're facing, make a left.
Come down and make a left, correct.
And then go out and either go right or left onto Little Plains.
Onto Little Plains, you got it, yeah.
Coming out and going left is stymied by the ancient tree.
On Pine Street.
Yeah.
I believe that's it right here in the photo.
Chokes down.
Yeah, see how it, Meeting House kind of chokes down there.
It's all one way now. We used to go both ways.
It's all
for
one way,
years.
yes.
Both ways for you. If Pine Street can't be opened up?
Doesn't look like that's possible at
Pine
this
Street
point.
was actually closed down. It was part of that whole parking lot
It was.
access school safety system.
It was, yes.
That narrowed it.
Did they change it to go one?
No, I know, I understand that. I'm just trying to say, what are all the alternatives? We're probably picking, having this, not pick, we're probably having to review the least bad of all the alternatives, it seems to me, that's all. They're all bad. This is the least bad.
Well, there's no question you've got a problem. I mean, it's obvious. The solution to going to Little Plains is probably the least bad, but you're going to hear some flack from the people who live on Little Plains, I'm sure. And it's interesting that one of the previous things, I don't know if you came earlier, was a resident complaining that the secondary roads are now getting used for traffic because the main arteries are so tied up, which is, again, a little bit of what's happening here.
Yes.
But I understand you've got a problem, and that's one of the ways to solve it, so.
And I think you've got the bank at the corner, and then you've got a couple of commercial buildings, and then you have you got O'Connell's Funeral Home. I think by the time you get to the end, you might only get 2 houses. Nobody's going to complain on the funeral.
You can go left on Little Plains, but if you go right.
Right, just.
Oh, there you go. Oh, we go right.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, then you'll hear.
No.
Then you'll hear.
That's why I asked what the dispersion,
Right.
what the dispersion is. Because right is a real community issue, right?
Right. It would be,
The bank is up there to, replace Wilson's garage, so, we know about that one. So that's the community issue is that,
correct.
as you know.
Hopefully, we have students in that area, and that's who we're delivering home.
That's why I asked
That's why we would
what it
send
looks
them
like
that
in
direction.
the winter at this point.
I'm not sure I understand it yet.
Oh, but look at take a closer look at the map.
No, I understand that, but so let's assume it's a busy day in the summer, and your buses are loaded on Pine Street headed north. You've got a traffic control officer overruling the traffic light at Pine Street and Hampton Road.
Yes.
But your buses can't go left, right? You can always make the right turn?
They can't physically move on to Hampton Road.
Why?
It's that loaded.
It's what?
It's just
It's
bumper to bumper.
that loaded with traffic.
In both directions?
Correct.
Okay. So now you send certain buses out east to Little Plains Road.
Right.
And where are they going?
Well,
They're going, if you're at Hampton Road and Pine Street and making a left, you can't get on Hampton Road. Right?
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
Correct.
About both directions.
Correct.
The buses that want to go west can't get on Hampton Road.
Okay.
So they're now going to go east on the south access, we'll call it, South School access.
Right.
To Little Plains Road.
Right.
Now that bus wants to go west.
Right.
So it's going to make a left turn, go up to Hampton Road, and make another left, and it's now on Hampton Road again.
Likely it wouldn't. It would
It's
probably
gonna go right.
bypass that congestion spot of Hampton Road altogether and make a left further
How's
up.
it going to do that? Go up Elm Street?
I guess it would make a right up.
Well, that's exactly what we've said before. That's the gentleman that talked earlier, that if you're going to go right, you're going to go down, Little Plains Road to Gin Lane?
No. Oh, well, you could go down to. I was thinking they would come up, and instead of making the left on Hampton Road, they could make a right.
We haven't gotten we haven't gotten onto Little Plains Road yet.
Okay.
And you have people that want to go west and north of the school. You've got a bus that wants to go west and north.
Sure.
Once it is on the school property and making a turn onto Little Plains, it's going to go left or right.
Yes.
How does it get north and west?
So what we identified as the real congestion point is that Pine Street intersection.
Yeah, we're not talking about that anymore. The bus is now entering onto Little Plains Road, and it can go north or south.
Right.
Its ultimate destination is north and west.
Yes.
How does it get there?
It can make a left on Little Plains, go up to Hampton Road.
And it's right back on Hampton Road.
But it doesn't have to make a left onto Hampton Road into that congestion area.
Okay.
It can go around that.
Okay.
Yeah. Which would be quicker than trying to make a left on Hampton.
It's making a left on. You mean a left at Pine Street?
No, we're exiting to Little Plains.
Right.
You're saying this bus needs to go north and west.
Right.
fine, we'll make a left onto Little Plains.
Right, and then another
We'll
left
come
on
up-
Hampton Road.
No, we'll make a right on Hampton Road and come up Elm, is that the right road?
No, you still
You'll
have to
get
make a
past
left.
Elms.
Past
No, it'd be
Excuse me,
David
you'd
White's
still have to
Lane,
make a
maybe?
left on Hampton Road.
No, you could make a
Yes,
right.
if you want
and
to
a
go to
left.
Elm Street, you have to make a
Well,
left on
I'm sorry, I had the
that
road, I'm sorry, I had the road wrong. But you could make a right and then a left and go north and then come back west.
Okay.
Outside of that congestion area.
I think it's David White's, right?
There's another little street, but that goes.
Excuse me. So now you're making a left on Hampton Road and then a right turn on Elm Street.
No, you'd make a right on Hampton Road and then a left on, I'm sorry, I don't know what the name of the street is.
You'd have,
Woolley or David White.
so you want to take the buses up Woolley Street.
We could, yes. What we're trying to do is, ease that congestion on Hampton Road.
But you're diverting bus traffic onto other residential streets. That's, I think, this is going to be a concern of this board.
Okay. Well,
And if you
our
go
routes
right,
are
if you
residential
wanted to
streets
go-
because we're
if you wanted
delivering
to go-
students.
If you wanted to go north and west and you took a right turn on Little Plains Road, the only way you're going to gain any time is to go all the way down to Gin Lane, south of Lake Agawam to avoid the congestion on Main Street, and then all the way up around First Neck Lane or Halsey Neck Lane.
Well, couldn't they also make a right on,
Meeting House Lane is going to take you right through the village,
but not on Hampton Road?
not on Hampton Road.
And you could go west that direction
Go
and
west that
north?
direction.
And it's the turning movements that are the issue?
No, just that...
It's just so congested you can't...
Correct. That area of Hampton Road with the pedestrian traffic and the backing out of parking and what have you is very congested, and we don't seem to be able to get our buses out.
And they don't have those two lights synced anyway. If those two lights were synced, it would be a lot less. We've mentioned it. I'm not sure who pulls the trigger on that, but
Is that state or?
the county, is that a county road? State. Which state?
State, I think, though, right?
So it's
Yeah.
like if
I
they
mean,
would sync those two
so
lights, you
the
get
village
people going
actually-
a lot faster through
The
there.
village can actually make those requests of the DOT directly and just say, could you guys come out and look at this? And they, they'll listen to the village.
On Hampton Road.
Yeah. And they can do some signal retiming, so.
In terms of volume, if we had 8 vehicles in the rear of the school that go on to Pine, say half of them remain going to Pine, we're talking about 4 that would be coming out onto Little Plains.
I think it was
So
just-
2 and 2.
It's kind of preferable to make those buses make only a left turn on Little Plains.
You'd get a lot less pushback from the neighborhood, because if you're going left, you're passing really the town hall and some commercial.
Right.
If you go right and you go south, you're passing more residential homes.
And
I think it's in your best
given the
interest to
present
get this thing
demographics,
done.
I don't think there are a lot of
Do something
students
like
on
that.
Little Plains Road or Meeting House Lane that go to school.
Yeah, no, but...
Yeah.
The other thing is, how are you going to keep it just to buses and not to, so this is all cars that are parked here now?
We have a gate that we're going to put at the end of the driveway, and our intention is to only allow that for egress and for buses.
Great idea.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea.
So it'll assess the size of the vehicle?
No, it's going to have like an RFID chip
Oh, okay.
that the
Got
buses
it.
only will have.
Got it,
so-
okay.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Because Bo's right, if you go out and go left, it's a major,
The last thing you want is to become a cut-through either, and that's
Yes.
the other thing, so,
Yeah, no, we were sensitive to that.
yeah.
major difference. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
If our suggestions
So-
help, good, do your best.
So, wait a second. This has not been noticed. The first that the planning board members saw of this was at the work session, and it was only because I had a copy of it, because there had been some communication between us earlier. And so this is not really a public forum at this point, because nobody knows about it. So my recommendation is that this become a notice public hearing for next month, and that you notify the owners within 500 feet of the property to at least be able to get some sense of what the community input would be. So,
Or maybe
explain
get
the-
counsel to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because, they're, this is as smart and worldly as our planning board is. They're not the public, so.
Right. And I'm not the full district either.
Right,
so-
right, exactly.
As limitedly smart as
And
I
I-
am.
and I just think
I'm
that
just here
it
to
would be-
present
But
it.
we'd really appreciate your help representing the school district in order to provide our community with a public hearing form. It's going to be a little bit of time and effort. The addresses can be obtained from the building department staff, and somebody's going to have to draft up a little summary letter, maybe a little abbreviated map or something to explain what this is, and then send it out.
Okay, we're unfamiliar with doing that process, obviously, yeah, so, because we're not really...
We can help.
Kathy can help you with that. We can get you the mailing information, but somebody's going to have to actually mail it and give the post office a check.
Okay. Well, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
The public hearing will result in what? The opportunity
for the public commentary,
Right.
basically the people in that area, 500 feet of the school building, to come in and voice whatever thoughts they've got. Sometimes it's
Never know.
opportunity to test your patience, but it's also an opportunity to hear what these people's thoughts are, and somebody may have a good idea about it, but I think the board understands it now, and we just like the school district to be a good neighbor and extend itself to this cordiality to provide these people with some degree of notice. You may have heard another gentleman complain that he didn't get notice of something 5 years ago, and we'll check into that, but it's important that people feel that they've been given a voice in something like this.
And then that's why we're here. We wanted to make sure that this was something you did.
So Kathy can give you the contact, or you give your information to Kathy, and then she can contact you and
I have your
and reach you further. Okay, very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there's no need to motion on the matter, so you're ready to either approve minutes or conclude your meeting.
Thank you for the information. Okay, we have minutes.
You have my contact information, right?
June 25th.
June 25, we don't have them yet. I don't think, I haven't seen them yet.
I haven't forwarded them to you. I'm waiting for revisions. So once I have the revised, I will send them out.
Okay. Our next session for work will be, as you can see there, on July 30th at 5. Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Done.